The first thing to go quiet was the town. Not literally. The bakery still opened at 6. Kids still biked past our house after school. But conversations started ending when I walked into a room. People smiled the way they do when they're already finished deciding who you are. My daughter noticed it before I did. She didn't come home crying. That would have been easier. She just stopped asking if she could go out. Her phone stayed face down on her desk. One afternoon, I saw her erase a group chat without opening it. "What happened to soccer?" I asked. She shrugged. "Coach said they're going in a different direction." Later I learned my parents had already chosen that direction for her. They told people she'd been caught stealing. Small things, they said. A wallet. Cash from a purse. They said it the way you say allergies or a learning disability, like an unfortunate truth everyone should be warned about. When the school heard, they acted quickly. No investigation. Just removal. Teams didn't want distractions. Parents didn't want risk. She should learn respect. My mother told me over the phone, her voice calm, almost proud. This is how children learn. I asked where they'd heard she stole anything. There was a pause. Then my father said, "We saw her take money from your mom's bag." It wasn't true. My mother later admitted she'd misplaced it and found it in her car days later. But by then, the story had done its work. They never corrected it. In their minds, the lesson mattered more than accuracy. I wanted to scream. Instead, I went quiet. Part of me still believed in containment. If I didn't escalate, if I explained gently, things would soften. I asked them to call the school. They refused. "It'll only confuse people," my mother said. "And she needs consequences." The word consequences stuck with me. My daughter didn't defend herself much. That worried me more than anger would have. She internalized it, started apologizing for things she hadn't done. One night she asked me if she should write letters to the other parents, just in case. That was when I realized my restraint wasn't protecting her. It was just making room for other people's certainty. My grandfather had died years earlier. He'd been careful with money, records, and promises. After his death, there were things my parents assumed would eventually be theirs. Some land. A trust arrangement they never fully understood. I still had the name of his lawyer saved in my contacts. I hadn't spoken to him in years. I didn't explain everything when I called. I didn't have to. I asked a few specific questions about how certain assets were structured and who had authority over what. He listened. Then he said, "If false statements were made that affected a minor's standing in an institution, there are processes. Quiet ones." That was all. I didn't threaten my parents. I didn't confront them again. I didn't even tell my daughter what I'd done. I just let the process begin. Letters went out, not dramatic ones, clarification requests, documentation checks. The school received an inquiry asking on what basis disciplinary actions had been taken. My parents received notice that certain future transfers would require updated disclosures. Institutions don't argue with feelings, but they pay close attention to risk. The shift was subtle but immediate. My mother called me 3 times in one day, left voicemails asking why. People were getting the wrong idea. My father texted that we needed to talk, like adults. The moral certainty drained out of their words, replaced by logistics and concern. At school, the vice principal asked to meet. He used words like misunderstanding and due diligence. My daughter was quietly reinstated on one team. Not announced, just a loud back. No apology, but no suspicion either. She came home that day and said, "Coach asked if I wanted my old locker back." I said yes before she could hesitate. The rumor didn't vanish. Some parents stayed distant. Some kids didn't come back. Damage doesn't rewind cleanly. But adults started being careful. My parents stopped telling the story altogether. When asked directly, my mother said it had been blown out of proportion. She never said she was wrong. I didn't push for that. I wasn't interested in watching them collapse. I just needed them to stop shaping my child through humiliation. We don't see them much anymore. There's no dramatic estrangement scene, just space. A redefinition. They lost access not because I punished them, but because I no longer negotiated my daughter's dignity. One night, weeks later, my daughter asked why things had changed. I told her, sometimes adults speak too confidently about things they don't understand, and sometimes other adults make them slow down. She nodded. That was enough. I still feel the loss. You don't cut away from family without bleeding. But the house is calmer now. My daughter laughs more easily. She trusts me again in a way that matters. My parents taught her a lesson, just not the one they intended. And I learned that protecting your child doesn't always look like confrontation. Sometimes it looks like knowing who to call, and knowing when silence has already cost too much.